Hello again. Here we have how to distribute with fractions. So this is why last week's lesson was all about adding, subtracting, and multiplying fractions, because fractions do just continue being such an integral part of all of what we're doing, especially when you go to algebra, geometry, and algebra 2, because fractions are how we represent division, that fourth basic function. So looking here, we have a wonderfully elegant and probably looks like a pretty complicated math problem because of those fractions being there. And so the piece that I want to remind you guys is that everything that's true about distribution that we've worked on so far, the distribution being multiplication and how the parentheses meaning a group and all those skills apply here. And separately, all the skills that are true about adding, subtracting, and multiplying fractions also apply here. And so while this is tedious because there are multiple steps involved with it, that's just that. It's just tedious. It's using all those same separate skills that you've already done and having you do them one at a time in order. And so looking at what we have here, we have our multiplication here with the -6. And so we'll take care of that first. Get rid of the parentheses, do that multiplication, -6 times the 1/4, and -6 times the -2/7. And so, like you saw last week, when you multiply fractions by a whole number, the whole number really is over 1. And so you're just multiplying the fraction through. The -6 times the 1/4, the -6 gets multiplied by the 1 on top, gives you -6. And then the 1 below the 6 multiplied by 4 is 4. And that's still multiplied by v. Then you have that -6 times the -2/7. Same thing, multiplying the fractions. -6 times a -2 is a +12. And then -6, what's below the -6 is the 1. The 1 times the 7 is just 7. Perfect. We've taken care of that distribution. We've multiplied our fractions. Now, all that's left is still the 7/8 v in front minus the 6/4 v plus the 12/7. I'm going to scroll down just a smidge. All right. We can make this a little bit easier for ourselves. Even though this is an extra step, we can simplify our 6/4. Both the 6 and the 4 are divisible by 2, so we can reduce that fraction, which is really nice because it makes it easier for us to tackle the problem then. So 6 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2 makes this a -3/2 v that we're working with. The plus 12/7 is still there, and the 7/8 v is still there. And so let's combine our like terms. The -3/2 v and the 7/8 v are our like terms. Those are the two things that we need to combine here. The hard part is, in order to combine them, they need to have a common denominator. Right now, an 8 and a 2 are not common, and so we cannot add and subtract those together yet. The good news is, all we have to worry about is getting the 3/2 to become an 8 on the bottom. That's the only thing we need to do, because as long as they match, we're good to go, and 2 can easily multiply to be 8. It multiplies by 4. And so we just need to multiply the 3/2 by 4/4. And that's going to get us to a denominator of 8. Now, in case you don't remember, we're multiplying by 4/4 because that means we're multiplying by 1. And whenever we multiply by 1, it doesn't actually change the number. So we're changing how this looks without actually changing what it is. And so on top, the 4 times 3 gives us 12. On the bottom, 4 times 2 gives us 8. So we have a -12/8 v that came from the 3/2 v. We still have the 7/8 v in front. Oop, meant to draw that in black. One more click. There it is. There's the black. So meant to have 7/8 v in front, and in green here we still have plus 12/7. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is 7/8 v minus 12/8? The good news is that's just 7 minus 12. the 8 in the denominator doesn't change because we're adding and subtracting. The only time the denominator changes is when we're multiplying and dividing. So 7 minus 12, if my mental math is correct, is -5. Mrs. Casillo, that's -5, right? She says yes. And that's divided by 8. And that v is still on there because that's going to be just adding and subtracting with the variables. And then we have the plus 12 sevenths. So, ladies and gentlemen, the takeaway here is our work with the fractions is the same as it was last week. It takes steps, and writing out your steps helps you organize what you're doing. Because if you notice here, all the work that we've done so far in the previous examples, I've gone through multiple examples, and they've all taken about 3 minutes. Here, this one problem has taken about 5 because of all those different steps and all those different works and that intentionality of maintaining where our numbers were. And the colors definitely helped. If you guys have the option to, definitely work with lots of pretty colors. So, without any further ado, the last thing I'll say is when you type this answer into Canvas, it's really hard to format that fraction bar. So you're typing in the -5, the fraction bar, the 8, then the v, then the plus, then the 12, then the fraction bar, and the 7. That's how Canvas is going to read the exact same answer that you see down below. So thank you guys. Email me if you have questions. Otherwise, good luck. You're going to do awesome.